Admiral Hyunwoo Kim stood in the command center of Earth's Defense Station Alpha, watching the stars through the massive viewing window. The coffee in his hand had gone cold hours ago, but he didn't notice. His mind was focused on the message that had arrived 3 days earlier from somewhere deep in space. The quantum communication array hummed softly behind him. Captain Bo-Ram Lee walked up with a datapad in her hands. Her face showed the same worry that had been on everyone's face since the message came through. "Sir, we've gone over the alien transmission again," Bo-Ram said. "Commander Taeho has some new thoughts about what they really want." Hyunwoo turned around. Commander Taeho Park stood near the main display screen, pointing at different parts of the alien message. The text floated in the air, glowing blue against the dark room. "Tell me what you found," Hyunwoo said. Taeho cleared his throat. "The aliens call themselves the Galactic Council of Peaceful Species. They say they want to meet us at a place called Harmony Point, but look at what they're asking for." The words on the screen changed color as Taeho spoke. "They want us to send only a small transport ship. No more than 12 people. No weapons. They want us to dock at their station and follow their rules." Bo-Ram nodded. "It sounds like they're trying to control everything about this meeting." "Why would they do that if they really want peace?" Hyunwoo walked closer to the screen. He had been thinking the same thing. In his 30 years as a military officer, he had learned to spot traps. This felt like one. "What do we know about their technology?" he asked. "Not much," Taeho replied. "They can send messages across space faster than light. That means they're more advanced than us in some ways, but we don't know how strong their weapons are or how many ships they have." The door to the command center opened. Captain Sojin Choi walked in, still wearing her ship uniform. She had just returned from a patrol mission near Mars. Her dark hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her eyes showed the sharp focus that made her one of Earth's best ship commanders. "Admiral," Sojin said with a salute, "I heard about the alien message. Are we really going to send a shuttle to meet them?" Hyunwoo looked at her for a moment. Sojin commanded the UDS Retribution, the most powerful warship that Earth had ever built. The ship was over 1 kilometer long and carried weapons that could destroy entire asteroid fields. If anyone understood the dangers of meeting unknown aliens, it was her. "What would you do, Captain?" Hyunwoo asked. Sojin stepped forward and looked at the alien message. She read it carefully, her face showing no emotion. After a few minutes, she turned back to the Admiral. "This isn't an invitation," she said. "It's a test. They want to see what we'll do. If we send a weak shuttle with no weapons, they'll know we're easy to defeat. If we refuse to come, they'll think we're afraid." Bo-Ram frowned. "But if we send a warship, they might think we're the ones who want to fight." "Maybe," Sojin replied. "But at least we'll be alive to explain ourselves." Taeho pulled up another screen. It showed a map of the local area of space. Harmony Point was marked with a red dot, far from any human colonies. "The location bothers me too," he said. "It's in the middle of nowhere. If something goes wrong, no one will know what happened to our people." Hyunwoo walked back to the window. Outside, he could see Earth in the distance, blue and beautiful against the black of space. Billions of people lived on that planet, trusting him and others like him to keep them safe. The Admiral had made many hard choices in his career. He had sent people into danger before, but this was different. This choice could affect the future of the entire human race. "Tell me about the Retribution's current status," he said to Sojin. "Fully operational, sir. We just finished installing the new gravitational weapons. The crew is well trained and ready for anything." Hyunwoo made his decision. He turned around to face his officers. "We're going to accept their invitation," he said, "but we're going to do it our way. Captain Choi, prepare the Retribution for a long-range mission. Take your full battle group." Sojin's eyes widened slightly. "Sir, are you sure? That's a lot of firepower for a peace meeting." "That's exactly the point," Hyunwoo replied. "If they really want peace, our ship won't matter. If they're planning something else, we'll be ready." Bo-Ram looked worried. "What if this starts a war?" "Then it's a war they started by lying to us," Hyunwoo said. "I won't send our people into a trap just to look friendly." Taeho nodded slowly. "It's risky, but it sends a clear message. We're not weak, and we won't be pushed around." Hyunwoo walked to the communication station. "Send a reply to the aliens. Tell them we accept their invitation. Tell them we'll arrive at Harmony Point in 3 weeks." "Should I mention what ship we're sending?" the communication officer asked. "No," Hyunwoo said with a small smile. "Let it be a surprise." Over the next few hours, the command center became busy with activity. Officers planned the mission route. Engineers checked the Retribution's weapons and engines. Diplomats prepared for the most important meeting in human history. So-jin stood next to Hyunwoo as they watched the preparations. "Do you think we're making the right choice?" she asked quietly. Hyunwoo looked at her. "I think we're making the only choice that keeps us human. Our ancestors didn't survive by trusting strangers who told them to come alone to dark places. I won't start now." The message went out into space, traveling faster than light toward the waiting aliens. In 3 weeks, humanity would make its first contact with an alien civilization, but they would do it on their own terms with their strongest ship and their best people. The aliens had asked for a shuttle. They were going to get a dreadnought instead. Captain So-jin walked through the corridors of the Retribution toward the main conference room. The ship's artificial intelligence announced status updates as she passed. "Weapon systems operational. Defensive screens at full power. All departments report ready status." The aliens had finally answered their message. Instead of asking the humans to dock at Harmony Point Station, they had requested permission to come aboard the Retribution. So-jin wasn't surprised. Anyone looking at her ship would want to see it from the inside. Ambassador Yoon-ji waited outside the conference room doors. She wore her best diplomatic uniform and carried a datapad with information about each alien species coming aboard. "Are you ready for this?" Yoon-ji asked. "As ready as anyone can be for the most important meeting in human history," So-jin replied with a small smile. The conference room was impressive even by human standards. The table was made of polished metal that reflected the holographic displays on the walls. Those displays showed real-time information about the ship's status, the surrounding space, and tactical analysis of everything in sensor range. 12 alien representatives entered the room, escorted by human security officers. Each alien looked different from the others. Some were tall and thin, others short and wide. Some had scales, others had fur or smooth skin. But they all had the same expression on their faces, nervous fear mixed with curiosity. Ambassador Veltar led the group. He was the one who had sent the original invitation to Earth. His 4 eyes moved constantly, taking in every detail of the room. When he saw the tactical displays, his skin changed color slightly. "Welcome aboard the UDS Retribution," Yoon-ji said as everyone took their seats. "We're honored to meet representatives of the Galactic Council." "Thank you for accepting our invitation," Veltar replied carefully. "Though we must admit your arrival was not what we expected." So-jin sat at the head of the table. "What did you expect, Ambassador?" "A small transport ship, perhaps 50 meters long. A crew of 12 as we requested." "We brought 12 diplomats," So-jin said. "We just brought them on a better ship." One of the other aliens, who had introduced herself as Counselor Kithara, leaned forward. "May I ask why you chose to bring such a large warship to a peace meeting?" Yoon-ji and So-jin had practiced this question many times. They knew it would come up. "We brought our best ship because we wanted to show you our best," Yoon-ji said. "In human culture, bringing something small and weak to an important meeting would be an insult." "But the weapons," another alien said nervously. "Why so many weapons for a peaceful meeting?" So-jin stood up and walked to one of the wall displays. With a touch of her hand, the screen showed the outside of the ship. The aliens could see the Retribution's weapon systems clearly. "These are gravitational pulse cannons," So-jin explained. "They can focus gravity into a beam that disrupts molecular bonds." "Would you like to see a demonstration?" The aliens looked at each other with alarm. Veltar quickly shook his head. "That won't be necessary." "We have other weapons too," continued Commander Dong-hyun Lim, the ship's chief engineer. He had been quiet until now, but Yoon-ji had asked him to help explain human technology. "Quantum torpedo launchers, plasma beam arrays, and defensive screens that can adapt to any attack." Dr. Hye-won Kim, the mission's xenobiologist, watched the aliens carefully. She could see their stress responses clearly. Several of them were showing signs that their species had evolved as prey animals rather than predators. That explained a lot about their approach to first contact. "This ship represents 3 generations of human military technology," Dong-hyun continued, "but it's not our most advanced design. We have newer ships that are even more capable." Counselor Kithara's eyes went wide. "More advanced than this?" "Much more," So-jin said, returning to her seat. "But we thought bringing those might send the wrong message." The room fell silent for several minutes. The aliens whispered among themselves in languages that the translation system couldn't handle. Finally, Veltar spoke again. "We're confused about human intentions. Your message said you come in peace, but you arrive with a battle fleet. You speak of friendship, but you demonstrate weapons of war. Yunji leaned forward.
May I ask you a question, Ambassador?
Of course. Why did you ask us to come alone and unarmed to meet strangers? Veltar blinked his 4 eyes in sequence. Because that's how civilized species behave. You show trust by making yourself vulnerable. And what if the strangers you're meeting aren't trustworthy? So Jin asked. Then you learn that before it's too late and the Council takes action. Commander Sang-Ho Bayek, the ship's intelligence officer, had been listening to this exchange with great interest. So you test new species by seeing if they'll put themselves in danger? It's not a test, another alien protested. It's a sign of good faith. It's definitely a test, Sang-Ho replied calmly. You want to see if we're smart enough to recognize a trap and weak enough to walk into it anyway. The aliens began talking among themselves again, more urgently this time. Dr. Haiwan noticed that several of them were showing signs of distress. I think we need to step back, Yunji said diplomatically. We seem to have very different ideas about how first contact should work. Indeed we do, said Kithara. Your species thinks like predators. Ours think like people who have lived in peace for thousands of years. And which approach has kept your people safer? So Jin asked. We've had very few wars in Council space, Veltar said proudly. How many unknown threats have you encountered? Asked Commander Jaemin Yoon from his position near the door. Very few, Veltar admitted. And when you do encounter threats, what happens? The aliens looked uncomfortable. One of them, who hadn't spoken before, finally answered. The Council debates solutions until the threat goes away or becomes someone else's problem. So Jin nodded. That's what we thought. You've been lucky to live in a peaceful part of the galaxy. Humans haven't been so lucky. Dr. Young-Soo Park, the mission's historian, activated another wall display. It showed a map of human space and the surrounding regions. Humans evolved on a world where survival meant being ready for anything, Young-Soo said. We learned to cooperate with friends and prepare for enemies. We developed technology for both purposes. But surely you don't expect every species you meet to be hostile? Kithara asked. No, Yunji replied. But we don't expect them to be friendly either. We prepare for both possibilities. That seems very pessimistic, said Veltar. It seems very practical, Sojin corrected. We hoped you would be friendly, but we prepared in case you weren't. One of the quieter aliens finally spoke up. His name was Counselor Thexmar, and he represented one of the newer species in the Council. What would you have done if we had been hostile? He asked. Sojin looked at him steadily. We would have defended ourselves. With that much firepower, you could have destroyed this entire station. Yes, Sojin agreed. But we didn't. We came here to talk, not to fight. The weapons are just insurance. Senior engineer Hyrin Oh had been working at a side console during the conversation. She looked up with a smile. Speaking of technology, she said, would you like to see something interesting? She held up a small device that one of the aliens had given her as a gift. It was a tool used by Council species for routine space repairs. This is very clever, Hyrin said, but I think I can improve it. She connected the device to her portable workstation and began making changes. Within minutes, she had modified the alien tool to work twice as fast and use half as much power. How did you do that? Asked the alien who had given her the gift. I looked at how it worked and thought about how to make it work better. Hyrin replied. It's what humans do. The aliens stared at the improved device, then at each other. For the first time since boarding the ship, they didn't look afraid. They looked impressed. You modified our technology in minutes, Kithara said slowly. Technology that took us years to develop. It's a nice tool, Hyrin said with a shrug. It just needed a few small changes. The meeting continued for several more hours, but the tone had changed completely. The aliens began to realize that humans didn't just bring military strength to the galaxy. They brought innovation, adaptability, and a completely different way of thinking about problems. By the end of the day, both sides understood each other much better. The humans learned that the galaxy was generally peaceful, but not very good at handling new threats. The aliens learned that humans were naturally suspicious, but also naturally helpful once they decided you were a friend. The first day of human-alien contact ended with confusion on both sides, but also with hope. Tomorrow would bring new conversations and new possibilities. Commander Zeflon sat in the control room of Harmony Point Station, watching the empty space around them. The station was huge, built by 12 different alien species working together. It had taken 50 years to complete and was meant to be a symbol of peace in the galaxy. 3 weeks had passed since the humans had accepted the invitation. Zeflon expected to see a small shuttle appear at any moment. The alien commander was nervous but excited. This would be the first time anyone from the Galactic Council had met these new creatures called humans. "Any sign of them yet?" asked Veltar, the ambassador who had sent the original message to Earth. The tall, thin alien paced back and forth behind Zeflon's chair. "Nothing yet," Zeflon replied. "But their message said they would arrive today." The station's sensors were powerful enough to detect ships from very far away. The Council had built them to watch for any threats to the peaceful meeting place. But right now the sensors showed only empty space. Veltar stopped pacing. "I still think we should have been more specific about what kind of ship to bring. What if they misunderstood our message?" "How could they misunderstand?" Zeflon asked. "We told them to bring a small transport with no weapons. It was very clear." On the other side of the control room, scientist Kithara worked at her station. She was studying what little information the Council had about humans. The species was new to space travel and had never met other intelligent life before. "Their technology seems simple," Kithara said without looking up from her screens. "Chemical rockets, basic nuclear power. They probably don't even have faster-than-light travel yet." Veltar nodded. "That's why we chose this approach. We didn't want to scare them with our advanced ships. A small meeting on neutral ground seemed best." Suddenly, alarms began to sound throughout the station. Zeflon's hands moved quickly over his controls as warning lights flashed red. "What's happening?" Veltar demanded. "Something's coming out of faster-than-light travel," Zeflon said, his voice tight with worry. "But the readings don't make sense." The main screen in front of them lit up with sensor data. Instead of one small ship, the sensors showed multiple large contacts moving toward the station. "That can't be right," Kithara said, leaving her station to look at the main screen. "Run the scan again." Zeflon tried the sensors 3 more times. Each time the results were the same. Multiple large ships were approaching Harmony Point at high speed. "Could it be a Council fleet?" Veltar asked hopefully. "No," Zeflon replied. "All Council ships are accounted for. These contacts are coming from the direction of human space." The sensor operator at the next station called out in alarm. "Commander, the lead ship is massive. It's over 1 kilometer long." Everyone in the control room turned to stare at the screen. The computer was trying to analyze the approaching ships, but the results kept changing. The ships seemed to use technology that the sensors couldn't fully understand. "This has to be a mistake," Veltar said. "Humans don't have technology like this. We studied their communications. They're barely advanced enough for space travel." "Then how do you explain what we're seeing?" Zeflon asked. Before anyone could answer, the human ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel. The main screen showed them clearly for the first time. The lead ship was enormous, dark and sleek like a weapon made of metal and energy. Behind it, smaller ships formed a perfect battle formation. "By the stars," Kithara whispered. "Look at the design of that ship. It's built for war." The human fleet moved with precision that spoke of excellent training and advanced coordination. Each ship knew exactly where to go and what to do. It was the kind of movement that took years of practice to perfect. Zeflon's communication officer looked up from her station. "Commander, we're receiving a message from the human ships." "Put it on the speakers," Zeflon ordered. A clear, strong voice filled the control room. It belonged to a human female, speaking in the universal translation language that all spacefaring species used. "This is Captain Choi So-jin of the United Defense Ship Retribution, responding to your invitation for first contact. We come in peace, but we come prepared." Veltar sat down heavily in the nearest chair. "This isn't what we planned at all. Should we call for help?" the communication officer asked. "And tell them what?" Zeflon replied. "That the humans we thought were primitive just arrived with a battle fleet?" On the screen, the human ships continued their approach. The lead ship, the Retribution, was unlike anything in the Council's databases. Its weapons were strange configurations that the station's computers couldn't identify. Its armor seemed to shift and change as they watched. "Are those gravitational weapons?" Kithara asked, studying her readings. "That's impossible. Even the most advanced Council species don't have weapons like that." Lieutenant Min Ho Song sat at his station aboard the Retribution, listening to the alien communications. The humans had learned the alien language from their original message, and Minho's job was to intercept any transmissions that weren't meant for them. "Captain," Minho said, turning to face Sojin, "the aliens are panicking. They're sending emergency messages to something called the Galactic Council." Sojin nodded. She stood on the bridge of her ship, watching Harmony Point Station grow larger on the main screen. Her crew was calm and professional, ready for anything that might happen. "What are they saying?" Sojin asked. "They keep saying this isn't what they expected. They're trying to figure out how we have such advanced ships." Ambassador Yoonji Han stood next to the captain's chair. She was Earth's top diplomat chosen for this historic mission. Unlike Sojin, she looked worried about the alien reaction. "Maybe we should have sent a smaller ship," Yoonji said quietly. "We might have scared them." "Good," replied Commander Jaemin Yoon from his position at the weapons station. "If they were planning to hurt our people, now they'll think twice." Sojin raised her hand for silence. "We're here now. We'll do our job and see what happens." "Minho, are they responding to our message?" "Not yet, Captain. They seem to be having some kind of emergency meeting." Back on Harmony Point Station, the emergency meeting was exactly what Minho thought it was. Zeflon had called together every senior officer and diplomat on the station. The conference room was full of different alien species all talking at once. "We have to contact the council immediately," said one alien with blue skin and 4 arms. "What do we tell them?" asked another with scales and yellow eyes. "That we invited a primitive species and they showed up with weapons we don't understand?" Veltar stood at the head of the table. "This is my fault. I wrote the invitation. I thought they would follow our instructions." "Maybe they did follow the instructions," Kithura said thoughtfully. "Maybe this is what humans consider a small, peaceful ship." Everyone turned to stare at her. "Think about it," she continued. "We don't know anything about human culture. What if they always travel in groups? What if they always bring weapons for protection?" "That ship isn't protection," said the blue-skinned alien. "It's a weapon of war." Zeflon looked out the window at the human fleet. The ships had stopped moving and were waiting patiently for a response. They weren't threatening the station, but their presence alone was intimidating. "We have to respond to their message," he finally said. "We invited them here. We can't ignore them now. But what do we say?" Veltar asked. Zeflon thought for a moment. "We welcome them to Harmony Point and ask them to dock for the meeting. Just like we planned." "Are you serious?" the scaled alien asked. "You want to let armed humans onto our station? Do you want to tell them to leave?" Zeflon replied. "Look at those ships. If they wanted to attack us, we couldn't stop them." The room fell silent. Everyone looked at the screens showing the human fleet. The truth was clear to all of them. The humans held all the power in this situation, and everyone knew it. On the 3rd day, Admiral Hyunwoo Kim joined the meeting through quantum communication from Earth. His image appeared on the main screen in the conference room, clear and solid as if he were sitting at the table. "Admiral," Ambassador Yoonji said with a smile, "let me introduce you to our new friends from the Galactic Council." Hyunwoo looked at each alien representative carefully. After 3 days of reports from the Retribution, he knew this meeting was going better than anyone had hoped. "Representatives of the Council," he said formally, "Earth is honored by your invitation and impressed by your civilization." Veltar responded for the group. "Admiral, we must apologize for our initial reaction to your fleet. We understand now that humans and Council species have very different approaches to first contact. Different approaches often lead to better solutions," Hyunwoo replied. "What matters is what we do next." Counselor Kithara leaned forward. "We've been discussing that question. The Council sent us here to evaluate humanity for possible membership. But the situation has changed. How so?" Captain Sojin asked. "We no longer think in terms of humans joining our organization," Kithara explained. "We think in terms of creating something new together." This was exactly what Hyunwoo had hoped to hear. The original plan had been to accept whatever the aliens offered and build from there. But 3 days of honest conversation had created much better possibilities. "What kind of something new?" he asked. Thexmar spoke up. "A partnership between equals. The Council provides knowledge, wisdom, and diplomatic experience. Humans provide tactical thinking, rapid response capability, and technological innovation. Each side contributes their strengths," added another alien representative. Admiral Hyunwoo smiled. That sounds like exactly what the galaxy needs. Over the next several hours, they discussed the details of this new alliance. It wouldn't be humans joining the Council, or the Council absorbing humanity. It would be a completely new organization that combined the best of both approaches. Captain So-Jin proposed the idea that had been forming in her mind since the first day. What if we created a joint academy? A place where Council species could learn human tactical methods, and humans could learn Council diplomatic techniques. Where would such an academy be located? Feltar asked. Aboard the Retribution, So-Jin replied. Mobile headquarters able to respond to threats anywhere in the galaxy. The aliens looked surprised, but intrigued. Dr. Young-Soo brought up technical specifications on the wall display. The ship has enough space for classrooms, laboratories, and quarters for students from multiple species, he explained. It could be a floating university for tactical and diplomatic studies. Commander Dong-hyun added, we could modify some of the weapon systems to serve as training simulators. Students could learn about both military technology and peaceful conflict resolution. Counselor Kithara's eyes lit up with excitement. A mobile center for learning and rapid response. When threats appear, the Academy could provide immediate assistance while the Council debates long-term solutions. And when diplomatic solutions are needed, Council experts would be right there to help, Yoonji added. The more they discussed the idea, the more excited everyone became. This wasn't just a treaty between humans and aliens. It was a new way of thinking about galactic security and cooperation. Admiral Hyunwoo could see the strategic value immediately. How many Council species would be interested in participating? All of them, Veltar said confidently. The Council has been looking for ways to improve our crisis response for decades. This could be the answer. Senior Engineer Heirin Oh had been working on something at her station. She looked up with a grin. I've been thinking about the technology sharing aspects, she said. Council engineering focuses on efficiency and elegance. Human engineering focuses on adaptability and redundancy. Combined, we could create systems that are both beautiful and unbreakable. She showed them preliminary designs for hybrid human-alien technology. The results were impressive even as rough sketches. Weapons that can be converted to peaceful tools, she explained. Ships that are equally suited for exploration and defense. Communication systems that work under any conditions. The alien representatives studied the designs with growing amazement. This level of innovation would have taken us years to develop, one of them said. It probably would have taken us years too, Heirin replied. But working together, we designed it in one morning. Commander Sang-ho had been thinking about the intelligence implications. This partnership would also improve information gathering. Human tactical analysis combined with Council cultural knowledge would give us a much better understanding of potential threats and potential allies, added Dr. Haiwan. Understanding how different species think and react could prevent conflicts before they start. As the day continued, the framework of the new alliance took shape. It would be called the Galactic Defense and Diplomacy Alliance. The Council would contribute 6 member species initially, with others joining as they chose. Humanity would contribute technology, tactical expertise, and the Retribution as mobile headquarters. The alliance would have 3 main purposes: training personnel in both diplomatic and military skills, responding quickly to galactic threats, and developing new technologies that served both peaceful and defensive purposes. Ambassador Eunji worked with Admiral Hyunwoo to draft the formal treaty. The document was simple but comprehensive, establishing the partnership as an alliance of equals with shared goals and responsibilities. Article 1. Yoonji read aloud. The Galactic Defense and Diplomacy Alliance is founded on the principle that lasting peace requires both the wisdom to avoid conflict and the strength to defend against those who would disturb the peace. The aliens nodded approvingly. This captured both their desire for peace and their new understanding of why humans prepared for war. Article 2. All member species contribute their unique strengths to the common good, with no species considered superior or inferior to any other. Veltar smiled. That's much better than the Council's traditional approach of slow integration for new members. The treaty continued through 12 articles, covering everything from technology sharing to joint training programs to crisis response protocols. When it was finished, representatives from both sides read it carefully. I believe this document creates something entirely new in galactic history, Thexmar said thoughtfully. An organization designed from the beginning to combine different approaches to security and diplomacy. Admiral Hyun-woo agreed. It also ensures that no single species dominates the alliance. Everyone contributes, everyone benefits. The formal signing ceremony took place in the Retribution's main conference room. Representatives from each species signed the treaty, using both traditional methods and advanced holographic verification. As the last signature was recorded, Captain So-jin stood and walked to the large windows overlooking space. "Look outside," she said to the group. Through the windows, they could see ships from 6 different council species approaching the human fleet. The vessels were smaller than human warships, but their presence showed that the aliens were no longer afraid of the human military. "When we arrived 3 days ago, you were terrified of our weapons," So-jin observed. "Now your ships are joining our formation. Because we understand now that your weapons serve the same purpose as our diplomacy," Kithara replied. "Protecting the things we care about." Commander In-soo Jung, the Retribution's executive officer, logged the mission in the ship's records as a complete success. In 3 days, humanity had gone from unknown species to founding partner in a new galactic alliance. The story ended with a message transmitted from the new alliance to civilizations throughout the galaxy. Ambassador Eunji spoke for all member species. "To all sentient beings who love peace and freedom, a new alliance has formed among the stars. We combine the wisdom of diplomacy with the strength of defense. We offer friendship to those who seek it, protection to those who need it, and firm resistance to those who would threaten the innocent. The galaxy is vast and full of wonders and dangers. Together, we are ready for both." The message concluded with words that would become the Alliance's motto. They expected a shuttle carrying diplomats. "We sent a dreadnought carrying friends. Sometimes the best way to ensure peace is to be prepared for war." As the Retribution and its new escort fleet prepared to leave Harmony Point, both humans and aliens looked forward to a future where strength and wisdom would work together to protect all peaceful species in the galaxy. The age of human isolation was over. The age of galactic partnership had begun. The second day of meetings began in a different room aboard the Retribution. Captain So-jin had chosen a smaller, more comfortable space with large windows that looked out into space. The aliens seemed more relaxed without the tactical displays and weapon status screens surrounding them. Ambassador Yoonji started the morning session with a simple question. "Tell us about yourselves. How did your species reach the stars?" Counselor Kithara was the first to respond. "My people, the Nexus Union, developed space travel gradually over many centuries. We began with chemical rockets, then fusion drives, and finally learned to fold space for faster travel. Each step took generations of careful research. We followed a similar path," added Veltar. "Most council species did. Slow, steady progress through cooperation and shared knowledge." Dr. Young-Soo Park took notes on his datapad. "How long did it take from your first spaceflight to meeting other species?" "For us, about 800 years, said another alien representative. "First we explored our own solar system, then nearby systems, then finally made contact with the Council." Commander Sang-ho Baek leaned forward. "Did you have wars during that time?" The aliens looked at each other uncomfortably. "Some conflicts," Veltar admitted, "but nothing major. Most disagreements were solved through negotiation." "What about threats from outside your species?" So-jin asked. "Pirates, hostile aliens, natural disasters?" "Very rare," Kithara replied. "The galaxy is mostly peaceful. Dangerous areas are marked and avoided." Sang-ho exchanged glances with So-jin. This explained so much about the alien mindset. They had evolved in a safe environment where patience and cooperation were always rewarded. "Humans had a different experience," Young-soo said, activating a wall display. "We reached space in less than a century from our first powered flight. We've been there for about 200 years now." "So fast," whispered one of the aliens. "We were motivated," So-jin said simply. "Our world taught us that waiting too long for anything could be dangerous." Young-soo brought up images of Earth's history. Humans evolved as both predators and prey. We learned to hunt in groups, but also to defend against other hunters. Competition and cooperation both became part of our nature. "That's why you prepare for war even when seeking peace," Kithara said with understanding. "Exactly," Yoonji confirmed. "We hope for the best but prepare for the worst. It's kept our species alive." Dr. Hyewan Kim had been studying the aliens' biological responses throughout the conversations. She spoke up for the first time that morning. "May I share an observation?" she asked politely. "Please do," Veltar replied. "Most of your species show physiological signs of prey evolution, quick startle responses, heightened awareness of threats, stress reactions to loud noises or sudden movements." The aliens looked surprised that she had noticed so much. "Humans show predator traits," Hyewan continued. "Forward-facing eyes, calm responses to potential threats, tendency to focus on solutions rather than escape routes. Is that why you brought warships to a peace meeting?" asked a small furry alien who hadn't spoken much before. "Partly," Sojin replied, "but also because we wanted to show respect. In human culture, bringing your best equipment shows that you consider the meeting important." Commander Dong-Hyun Lim added, "If we had sent an old weak ship, it would have meant we didn't think you were worth our attention. But weapons are meant for fighting," protested one of the aliens. "Human weapons are meant for protection," corrected Commander Jae-min Yoon. "The fact that we have them means we can choose not to use them." This concept seemed to puzzle several of the aliens. Veltar spoke carefully. "You're saying that being able to fight makes you more peaceful?" "It makes peace a choice instead of just hope," Sojin explained. "When both sides can defend themselves, both sides have reasons to avoid conflict." Counselor Thexamar had been quiet, but now he looked interested. "Your approach prevents war by being ready for war?" "It prevents war by making war too expensive for anyone to want," Sang-ho replied. "Much better to talk and trade than to fight and lose." Senior engineer Heiren Oh looked up from her workstation where she had been examining more alien devices. "Your technology is very efficient," she said to the aliens. "But it's designed for stable, peaceful conditions." "What do you mean?" Kithara asked. "Your tools and ships work perfectly when everything goes according to plan, but they don't adapt well to unexpected problems." Heiren held up a council communication device. "This is beautiful engineering, but if one component fails, the whole system stops working." She showed them a human equivalent. "Our version is less elegant, but it has backup systems and redundant components. If something breaks, it keeps working." "You design for failure," observed Veltar. "We design for reality," Heiren replied with a smile. "Things break. People make mistakes. Plans go wrong. Human technology accounts for that." Dr. Youngsu brought up new images on the wall display. "This difference in thinking shows up everywhere in human culture. We have sayings like hope for the best, prepare for the worst, and if something can go wrong, it will." "That sounds very pessimistic," said the furry alien. "It sounds very practical," Sojin replied. "Assuming things will go wrong means you're ready when they do." Counselor Kithara leaned back in her chair thinking. "The council has had some problems over the years. New threats that appeared without warning. Crises that required quick decisions. How did you handle them?" Hyunji asked. "Not very well," Kithara admitted. "We're good at long-term planning and careful negotiation. We're not good at fast responses to unexpected danger." "What kind of threats?" Sang-ho asked, his intelligence training making him focus on potential problems. Several aliens looked at each other before Veltar answered. "Space pirates from outside Council territory, automated war machines left over from ancient conflicts, natural disasters that required military responses. And each time the Council had to debate what to do while the threat grew larger," Dexmar added quietly. "How long do your debates usually take?" Sojin asked. "Months, sometimes years." The humans tried not to show their shock. In human military culture, a response time measured in months was unthinkable for any real threat. "What if the threat can't wait that long?" Unji asked. "Then we hope it goes away or becomes someone else's problem," Kithara said with obvious embarrassment. Commander Jaemin stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the human fleet maintained its protective formation around the station. "How would you handle a threat that appeared right now?" he asked. "Send messages to the council. Call for emergency sessions. Debate the proper response. Then how long would that take?" "Several weeks at minimum," Jaemin pointed out the window. "In several weeks, my ships could be anywhere in the galaxy, or they could all be destroyed." "Threats don't wait for committee decisions." "But careful thought prevents mistakes," argued one of the aliens. "Careful thought is good," agreed Sojin. "But you also need the ability to act quickly when necessary." Ambassador Yunji saw an opportunity to build bridges between the two approaches. What if there was a way to combine council wisdom with human readiness? What do you mean? Feltar asked. Council species are good at long-term planning and peaceful solutions. Humans are good at rapid response and tactical thinking. Together, we might be better than either group alone. The idea seemed to intrigue several of the aliens. Kithara spoke thoughtfully. There have been situations where quick military action followed by diplomatic solutions would have been ideal. And there are probably situations where human aggression made things worse when patience would have been better. Sojin admitted. Dr. Youngsu pulled up more historical data. Human history shows that our best successes came when we combined military strength with diplomatic skill. Pure aggression usually fails, but so does pure pacifism. You're suggesting a partnership, Thexmar said slowly. We're suggesting that we all have things to learn from each other, Yunji replied. The rest of the day was spent exploring this idea. The aliens began to see that human aggression was really human preparedness. The humans began to understand that alien weakness was really alien wisdom about the value of patience and cooperation. By evening, both sides had gained new respect for each other. The aliens no longer saw the human fleet as a threat, but as an example of a different way to ensure safety. The humans no longer saw the aliens as naive, but as experienced in forms of diplomacy that humanity had never needed to develop. The conversation had shifted from suspicion to curiosity, and from fear to hope.